you address the High Lord. Oblivion awaits.
What's up, people of the internet? It's your favorite theory crafter, Skizzors here. Today, gonna bring you the brand new Alarak off of the 25.4 D.Va patch. Alarak just went through a pretty big rework, and his talents are amazing, and he has a lot of potential, but they also made his skill cap much higher. We're going to be going over all that. I'm going to be bringing up right now, for those who don't want to sit through the entirety of the in-depth video, my talents that I will be going. No explanation. They will be right here and in this realm over here. And I'll just go through a basic of his abilities, and at that point you guys can decide to either close the video or keep watching for all the extra in-depth analysis into why I pick what I pick and other stuff like that. So regardless, thank you for clicking on the video, and if you did, like what you're seeing, be sure to let me know in the comments, or just message me or something. Let me know what's up. So first of all, we're gonna go over who Alarak is, kind of what he likes to do. Choice is clear, he says. Hopefully there's no Arthas bot hanging out. Nope. So for those that want to double check my testing, if there's anything that like you feel is weird, or you don't believe that the numbers on the screen are real or something, how I do all my testing is I turn off minions, I toggle cooldowns typically on for the sake of showing off stuff, and I set ally hero to none, and I set my level to 20. There you go. That's all the settings I do. Now Alarak, okay, so he's the High Lord of the Tal'Darim. He is a Protoss, and he's super crazy Death Palpatine Darth Vader guy. So yeah, he's pretty great. New Alarak definitely has some way better perks. He's now punished for dying, which really feels appropriate to Alarak's character if you did play through Legacy of the Void, the way that the Tal'Darim work and did all those missions. If you care about learning about the lore of Alarak, I'll let you guys go check that out. Continuing on, we're gonna just go over Alarak real quick. I'm gonna have the cooldowns toggled so I can show you these abilities a little bit better. So first of all, we're just gonna go over his basic skills. We'll start with his trait. Alarak's ability is a sadism. Alarak's ability damage and self-healing are increased by 100% against enemy heroes. Takedowns increased sadism by 3%, up to 30%. Sadism gained from takedowns is lost on death. Now, old sadism was just increased double damage basically. You had 100% sadism base, and that's all it was. Now they've added that takedowns will increase your sadism, but if you die, you lose it, which once again fits with the whole Alarak theme and lore behind the whole thing. So that's what the trait does, and it's very strong. It's a very strong trait. Alarak is very much a assassin that is meant to just obliterate heroes. You can do camps with them, you can help out your team with camps, but Alarak himself is more of just annihilating heroes and showing everyone who's boss with really BM voice lines towards the enemy team and sometimes your teammates. So his Q, Discord Strike, 45 mana, cooldown 8 seconds, and after a 0.5 second delay, enemies in front of Alarak take X amount of damage. Remember, I test at level 20, so the number will vary. Right now it's 384 base at level 20. And our silence for 1.5 seconds. Now remember, 384 is the damage without the 100% taken into effect. So it is double. It's 384 plus 384, so there you go. That's how all of his abilities work. Next, we're going to go over Alarak's W ability, Telekinesis. Mana costs 30, cooldown 12 seconds, and has vector targeting, which I'll go over in a minute. Creative Force, pushing Alarak and all of his enemies hit from the targeted point towards the targeted direction, deals X damage to enemies. So the damage is pretty negligible on Telekinesis. That's really not why you use it. But what vector targeting is you're able to draw a direction. So it's not like a set skill shot, set dodge red circle. Okay, it's not set in stone. So you get to draw where it's going to go. Now, to keep in mind with vector targeting, or with telekinesis specifically, it doesn't matter if your arrow is this big or this big, it pushes the same length every time. So it's always going to push max, which is this big of your vector target, but you can just quickly grab and do that. So you can see if I do max range, it ends right there. If I do really short, it still ends in the same spot. So instead of clicking, dragging, and trying to let go and hit somebody, you can just quickly just do a little tiny arrow there, just push in the direction you want to go. Next, we're going to be going over Lightning Surge. His E ability, mana cost is 25, cooldown 6 seconds, deal X damage to an enemy, and an additional 100% damage to enemies in between Alarak and the target, restoring X health for each hero hit. So this is an interesting ability because it rewards you for targeting behind enemies versus targeting enemies. And I can just show you what that looks like on the training dummy real quick. Bam. Lightning hit, looks awesome, and that's there you go. So something to kind of note right now is if I get right about here, a bit closer, when I hit the target dummy, I'm doing 272 damage per lightning. You can see that by the purple text, 272. If the target dummy or an enemy is in between my target, now it's doing 340 because it's the 100% extra increase. So 100% increase on top of the already sadism bonus. So Lightning Surge is rewarded for keeping your enemy in between your target versus targeting the enemy directly. You can target the enemy directly to do quick pokes or finishes, but you do get more damage if you can drop it behind a target somewhere, like so. So those are Alarak's basic abilities. Now we're going to be going over your base combo for Alarak, which is W, Q, E is the button combination you will be clicking, and it is pull, silence, and then hopefully there's an enemy behind that you can target for Lightning Surge, but for the sake of the example on the training dummy, I will just be clicking on the training dummy itself. So you pull, silence, and then hit your E on target or a target behind, preferably target behind, so then you get the extra bonus damage from Lightning Surge onto the target intended for the Lightning Surge. That's your basic combination. So your Q has an interesting perpendicular kind of thing. This used to be not baseline, the perpendicular little spike deals back and forth there. I can't actually click to them, but you guys can see them. So that used to be on his level 4, and everyone would just grab it because it made your range longer, and it just was it's just the best trait or best talent, excuse me, to go at level 4. Now it's baseline, so you get these little perpendicular little stick outs there. So if you do pull somebody and you pull them to the right or the left of you, you can still hit them with the perpendicular hits. So that's just important for you to note that now you don't have to be perfectly straight on. You can go left, you can go right, and you can still hit them. Little double cross, I believe is what it used to be called. Double cross shots there. So the silence, pretty straightforward. It takes the 0.5 seconds and then you silence somebody. And with the combination of telekinesis, it's really easy to guarantee to pull in and use your Discord Strike. And you can do them in pretty quick succession. So you're basically guaranteed your Discord Strike to go off. If you max range somebody, this is max range of your telekinesis. If you do max range, you grab somebody on the very edge and you hit your Discord Strike immediately after, you will 100% always hit them because they will be in this tip right here, right on the tip there. So they'll always be pushed at least to that point, so you will be guaranteed a silence.
Predictable yet effective.
Now, moving forward, telekinesis is interesting because you have a lot of different options. You can pull enemies towards you, you can pull enemies any direction, you can push them away from you. If you hit Alt and then W, it pushes you. So if you are running away, if there's somebody chasing you and you're running away, you can Alt W and get away in that regard. Or if you're chasing somebody and you can't reach them by pulling them inward to you, you can always pop telekinesis to push you towards them, maybe just enough to get your E off on them for a kill, or other scenarios like that. So another way to use telekinesis is say you're coming up from bottom and your team's here and they're pushing an enemy or multiple enemies. You can always push the enemy team back into your team, kind of more of a utility support kind of role versus pulling them into you. And sometimes that ends up being better than pulling them into you. Say you have an ETC here and he just can't quite catch up. You can push the enemies back towards him. He can slide in, get the mosh pit, and you have a really easy follow-up for your Discord Strike and your Lightning Surge. Another useful trick you can use telekinesis for is if a teammate is going to root, say Malf is rooting, and this is the center of the root, and there's an enemy right here. So there's an enemy on this cobblestone, but the root is right here. So he's not going to get hit by the root. You can always just push them into the root. If there's a Chromie dropping her W, you can push the enemy into the Chromie W. If you're on Battlefield of Eternity and the Immortal drops those circles that kind of go around for like the ranged stun, and you see an enemy there, you can push them into the stun. So there's almost infinite possibilities with telekinesis. There's quite a bit you can do with the ability. It's very, very strong, and it's up to you to decide what the best way to use it is in the scenario that you are given. Alright, now we're going to be going over Alarak's talents, and just a note to everyone out there. My talent build is not the set in stone, you must do this every time talent build. That's what's so good about heroes. You can pick and choose whatever you want. This talent build is just optimized based on the testing I've done, all the math behind the hero, and practicality of what you can actually get done in a game. So, take it as you will. This is just what I've been testing, and based on the math of all the different talents, they seem to coordinate the best together. And on top of that, what I do tend to make my builds geared towards is solo to 3 stacks. So a 5-man queue, you might grab a different talent based on who is in your party and maybe the heroes that have been selected. Generally speaking, when I'm playing, I'm either solo queue or maybe I'm in a duo or a trio. I'm never usually in a 5-stack. Sometimes I will be, but on average I am in a 1-2-3 stack. So all of my builds are usually geared towards more of what you can do as a player versus relying on your teammates to maybe secure kills and things of that nature. Now it is a team game, but you want to be able to do as much as you can individually, and that's what I kind of build towards. So without further ado, let's get into this. So level 1, I'm only going to be going over the talents that I think are worth grabbing. Ones that I don't feel are necessary, I'm not really going to go into. So we're going to start off by just saying Ruthless Momentum. Basic abilities, charge 20% faster while above 80% health, is really not useful. You're, on average, not going to be above 80% health very often. So, and this doesn't help because of what we grab later on. It's just kind of overkill, and it's not really needed. So focusing on the 2 talents you can go, Sustaining Power increases the healing received from damaged heroes with Lightning Surge by 40%, which makes you a very, very, very good self-sustain assassin. Kind of like Thrall. Thrall gets a big heal. This is also a big heal, but it's on a 6-second cooldown. And it can be very, very helpful, and I'll kind of go over what to pick based on how you feel about Alarak in a second here. The one I typically go for is Extended Lightning, which is his quest. So it starts out by reducing sadism by 10%, which is never something I really feel is something you want to do on Alarak. It's kind of the thought process of, like, you're picking an assassin and your job is to do damage, so reducing your damage doesn't make much sense if you would have heroes drafted to compensate for the fact that you don't have a lot of CC. That's why you have tanks, that's why you have supports like Malf with roots and other things of that nature. So to me, reducing sadism typically isn't very good. I never did on the old Alarak. I didn't feel like it was worth it. An ancient proverb back in my Dota 2 days that's really not that ancient, but a quote that I heard was, the best type of CC is death. So why not just kill them and not reduce your sadism so it's easier to just obliterate people. Now, the reason I do go this particular reduced sadism talent is because of the level 3 reward, gaining back that sadism, but we're going to go over that right now. So initially you lose the sadism, which sucks. 10% can actually be a big make or break difference in kills. If a hero gets out with a sliver of health, that 10% would have covered it. So keep that in mind when going for this quest. If you just don't feel like you're going to be able to complete it, you know, that is something you'll have to kind of think about. But so anyway, quest, hitting heroes with the center of lightning surge. That's the whole quest. So this part is broken at the time of making this video. I just played like 6 or 7 games of Alarak, and this never triggered at 5 heroes hit. So hopefully it's fixed by the time you guys watch this. But this, after hitting 5 heroes for the first reward, after hitting 5 heroes increases lightning surge's range by 20%. It has only ever increased once I hit 15 heroes, which is the second reward. That's just something to keep in mind. Even if I hit the triple hero at the very end that we'll go over, I still don't get an increased range until I hit 15 heroes. I'm not sure why, but that's just something that happened in a bunch of my games, and so that's something to kind of keep in mind when looking over these talents. So there's really only 2 tiers. You can take 1 and 2 and combine them. If they do fix this, after hitting 5 heroes, your lightning surge range will increase, which does make it easier to complete the other 2. But at the time of this video, that is not functioning. So after hitting 15 heroes, lightning surge's center also slows the enemy for 40% for 2 seconds, and it increases the range. So basically you want to hit those 15 heroes because it's going to make your lightning surge ridiculously strong. 40% is really, really good on a 6-second cooldown, especially because it's a pretty reliable hit. Granted, if there is somebody in between, or somebody on the other side of you and your target, so you target other person that you're going to hit lightning on, or minion, or tower, or whatever. So the slow is very, very helpful, and the slow also combos into something we're going to go into later, which is our huge power spike, and that will be at level 16. We'll go over that. So yeah, the great thing about this particular talent in reducing sadism is if you can hit 3 heroes with a single cast of it, you get the sadism you lost back, and you instantly gain the other rewards. But like I said, the range seems to be broken right now. So you'll still have to hit 15 heroes for the range, even though it'll say you've completed it. That's just something to keep in mind. But like I said, hopefully that gets fixed, and you will just hit 3 heroes and get everything at once. So you're really trying to gun for that 3 heroes with a single cast. When I can do it, it's against the very, very start of the game. So when everyone's doing that big skirmish, there's like 5 heroes on both sides. That's always like the best time to get that sadism bonus back. And if you can hit it within those first few seconds, then you're set for the rest of the game, because that slow is going to be super helpful, and you already got your sadism back. There's nothing to worry about there. This is the level and talent I do choose. Now, if you are kind of shaky on Alarak, you're not entirely sure if you can hit all 15 heroes, which is pretty doable for the most part. But if you're not too sure, you can get that slow bonus, or if you're not sure, you can never really get that 3 heroes with a single cast, or you run into, maybe you're dying a lot on Alarak and you're really struggling, then getting sustaining power for those extra heals is worth it. I think extended lightning is just better overall, but it is also reliant on you being a lot better of an Alarak player. So maybe if you're just starting to learn him, or you're just not feeling comfortable with grabbing extended lightning, sustaining power is a good choice, definitely worth it. You also get to keep your 10% sadism, so you're guaranteed to not lose that. But overall, I feel like extended lightning is the better pick. So level 4 is really, really interesting. I've spent a lot of time going back and forth between Chaos Reigns and Negatively Charged. Show the Force, completely irrelevant. These other 2 are just better. So just don't worry about that. At level 20, it only gives you 153 extra damage. It's really not worth it. Chaos Reigns is much like our extended lightning quest, where it has 3 different rewards. These all work when you hit the tiers, so there's nothing glitchy about that. Chaos Reigns is just hit heroes with Discord Strike. The first reward is after hitting 15 heroes, increases Discord Strike's damage by 60. Second one is if you can hit 2 heroes with a single Discord Strike, increase its damage by 60. And if you can hit 3 heroes with a single one, increase its damage by 60 and instantly gain the other 2 plus 60 damages. So something to note is if you do hit 2 heroes but not 3, you do not get the 15 hero hit bonus. It doesn't work like that. So think of it more as the first reward is its own thing, the second reward being the 2 heroes is this other thing, and then the third reward kind of encumbers everything if you can hit that. And it's also very easy to hit off the start of a game. First objective maybe, just get a really good pull in, or maybe your tank gets this nice stun and you just have like all these heroes bunched up. You just Discord Strike and it works, and you get them all super early and you're set to go for the rest of the game. Something I should note is Misha, Lost Vikings, and Samaro's clones. Those all work towards your quest. So if there's a Samaro that pops all of his illusions and they're all running at you and there's somebody behind him, you can hit your E and you'll instantly finish this quest. Same goes to just pull in Samaro and his 2 illusions and you will finish Chaos Reigns' quest. The other option at level 4, and that's basically it for Chaos Reigns. It just gives you more damage, it's really strong, and I'm going to be going over the math behind it in a second. But now we're going to look at Negatively Charged, which was the big question mark talent for me when I was originally testing out Alarak. And Negatively Charged increases the lightning surge damage bonus to enemies between Alarak and his victim to 150% instead of 100, and it's a repeatable quest, so it infinitely scales essentially. And each hero hit by the center of lightning surge permanently increases the damage by 3%. So if you're just reading these two, okay, Negatively Charged just looks better because it's an infinite quest. You can basically scale indefinitely, right? So that looks much better. In looking at these two and testing them quite thoroughly, I can assure everybody that Chaos Reigns is significantly better unless you are the luckiest Alarak player in the entire world and have like the greatest games every single time. It's really, Negatively Charged is really a trap talent in my opinion. It's cool that it's repeatable. It used to be in the PTR, it used to be 5% bonus and 200% instead of 150, so it was actually better in PTR, and it was still really difficult to manage. So I'm just going to give you the live test client information here. So over here on the right side of the screen, I'm going to be showing you guys the 2 testing maths that I did for both Chaos Reigns and Negatively Charged. So we're going to start with Chaos Reigns here. After completing the quest, getting your 180 bonus damage, as you can see to the right, you do 1,128 damage to the training dummy. Sustaining power at level 1 for the testing, and then Chaos Reigns just being completed. So I'm testing at level 20, 100% sadism because I didn't grab extended lightning. I grabbed sustaining power just for a more equalized test, and you get 1,128 damage. Now, moving on to Negatively Charged, it took me a while, if I'm going to be honest. It was a lot of clicking to try to see how many lightning center hits do you need to equal the damage of Chaos Reigns. Now when you finally get to the point where lightning damage is doing as much as Chaos Reigns, it is a lot. It's 161 center hits of Negatively Charged quest. You have to do this quest repeated 161 times. You have to get 161 hits, man. That is so many hits in one game to equal out the damage of Discord Strike if you finish the quest up here. So lightning against the dummy ends up being 1,129, so you get 1 extra damage if you can hit heroes 161 times within a game to equal out that damage. Now, I can't do that. I don't know who can. Maybe if they're a pushing comp and they don't actually take any structures and they just kind of like hold H and let you continuously lightning them, maybe that'll work. But 161 is a lot, and even if you manage to do this to get to 161 hits, you're going to be looking at very, very late game. Before in the PTR, it was 87 hits in order to complete, or in order to match it, and even that was really difficult. I'd be sitting at, 60 to 70 my hits towards the late game, and I still wasn't matching up to Chaos Reigns. So 161 being basically double what the PTR was originally is really, really hard to hit, and I would never be able to manage it, and if I did, we're talking about like a 35-minute game. So Chaos Reigns just ends up being better, even though technically speaking Negatively Charged does infinitely scale, so it will eventually be better than Chaos Reigns. Chaos Reigns you can get at the very, very beginning of the game, and it's with you for the rest of the game. You don't need to hit 161 center lightning hits to try to make it do equal damage. So Chaos Reigns is definitely the quest to go. I'm very, very confident in the fact that that is true. and hopefully showing you guys these little video clips on the side helps you see the difference in that math there too. Level 7 is very flex. Like I've said before, I don't like to reduce sadism. If you really are into that support Alarak where you lose your sadism, you can grab Applied Force to reduce your sadism even more, and then Telekinesis pushes farther and has farther range. Because you do gain so much sadism now, it's worth, like, you can take these talents and it's kind of worth it. I still feel like you're losing out on too much sadism then. It's once again to the point of who's on your team and why would you need that if you have roots and stuns and all this other stuff from your team. One argument is you can pull them closer, but the other argument is you should be in a better position in the first place to be using your default ranges to your advantage. And if somebody gets away because you didn't have this, but then you end up killing 4 other people because you didn't take this, then not having reduced sadism ends up being worth it, in my opinion. So the ones we're going to be focusing on is Dissidence, Hindered Motion. So with the Discord strike silence duration being increased by 0.75, that's very, very strong. I don't typically pick it because of something we pick later on, but if you do feel like a longer silence duration is what your team needs, say ETC's having a lot, or they have an ETC on the other team, and you're really afraid of him initiating into your team, and you get the combo, the WQ, maybe the extra silence is what you guys need to burst him down. So it can definitely be worth it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with grabbing this. What I tend to grab is Hindered Motion because it adds an element to Telekinesis that it doesn't have by default, and it combos into our level 16 pick. So getting Telekinesis slows by 25% for 2 seconds. Basically, you're just adding more control with your Telekinesis too, and that almost always guarantees you a Discord strike because you can actually take the time to, you have 2 seconds to really line it up if you really want to. But getting the slow is what in my opinion, is the most helpful. Like I said, it also combos very well into our later talent picks. Level 10, you can choose either. If I'm honest, I've played a lot of Alarak and I have had a lot of success with this hero, and Counter-Strike to me is just the better level 10 talent to pick. 9 out of 10 times. There is that niche situation where Deadly Charge will actually be better to pick at 10, but what Counter-Strike gives you is the option that if at any point you're out of position, or you get jumped, or you just want to obliterate somebody and you can bait them into stuff, Counter-Strike gives you like a lot of play potential where you become unstoppable and protected. I should also just read to you what it says. So Counter-Strike is 50 mana, it's 30-second cooldown, and Alarak targets an area and channels for 1 second, becoming protected and unstoppable. After, if he took damage from an enemy, he sends out a shockwave that deals 603 damage. Now remember, that's base, so that doesn't include your sadism bonus. Usually towards the later portions of the game, this is doing about 1200 damage. So it's pretty significant, and it's also a very, very large area that it covers. As it says, prevents damage to deal damage in a large area. There you go. So the other ultimate choice is Deadly Charge. Mana cost is 60, 45-second cooldown. After channeling, Alarak charges forward, dealing X damage to all enemies in his path. Distance is increased based on the amount of time channeled, up to 1.6 seconds. Issue a move order will cancel this up to no cost, and damage also interrupts it. So something to keep in mind is your damage is always the same damage regardless of how far you're charging. It's literally only the distance at which you're going to charge that is adjusted based on channeling it. So if I'll show you a little combo I like to do with our good friend Arthasbot when we go into some of those kind of combination attacks, where you can do Deadly Charge in between an auto attack if they're a slow auto attacking hero, and you can do it point blank and stuff like that. But 9 out of 10 times, Counter-Strike is going to be a better pick. 1, it does more damage. 2, it's really easy to guarantee a proc off of it. I think people overthink the ability too much. You can really activate it and do damage whenever you want. You just have to be quick enough. So Counter-Strike to me is better. It saves you so much more often, and it allows your healer to have a 1 second break between, maybe their heal isn't up for another second and you become unstoppable and protected, and then they can heal you right afterwards. You definitely have options with Counter-Strike. Deadly Charge is very aggressive. It is definitely a very cool ability. I think it's awesome, but it is, in my opinion, a little bit too risky, especially with the way Alarak is now. So Counter-Strike should be your level 10 pick 9 out of 10 times. Like I said, maybe you're just completely stomping a team when you get to 10. You're like, dude, we got this. I'm just gonna do a win more talent instead of playing it safe, and then you grab Deadly Charge. So Deadly Charge is risky, Counter-Strike's playing it safe. The Counter-Strike is very easy to proc, and I'll demonstrate that later. Level 13, the only one we're gonna ignore is Pure Malice, which is Alarak's old level 13 talent that you always grabbed, and it increases sadism by 6%. Anytime an allied hero dies, up to 30%, and then you lose it on death. Now, with the other two level 13 talents that they've added, Pure Malice is really pointless to get, so we're just going to ignore it. First, I'm going to go over Blade of the High Lord. Basic attacks against heroes increase sadism by 6% for 4 seconds, stacking up to 30%. Basic attacks against heroes refresh this duration. So, in my opinion, like, this build is set in stone. Like, going this way beyond level 1, right? You can go sustaining power if you really don't feel like you're going to be able to complete the quest on lightning, though I do feel like it is worth the risk. If you're dying a lot, like if you get to 10 and you're, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 deaths on Alarak already and your team's behind, I think Blade of the High Lord is definitely the way to go, because now you're banking on dying, you know, a lot more, and you don't want to lose all your sadism every single time. So if you're having a lot of trouble staying alive, Blade of the High Lord does kind of give you a guaranteed sadism boost during fights. So it can be worth it in that regard. You do have to play a little bit more aggressively to get the auto attacks in, but you don't have to worry about losing like a big chunk of sadism later on. Now, if you're playing Alarak and you feel like you're doing great, or you feel like you're at least keeping up as far as team to team goes, Alarak Shear is insane. This is what makes Alarak stupid OP. And I said stupid OP. I don't think Alarak's actually overpowered. I think he's actually in a really, really good spot because of what needs to happen to make him really strong. I'm just gonna sidetrack off the build real quick to talk about this. I look at Alarak right now the same as you might look at like a Butcher or Nazebo, where Butcher, right, early game he's kind of like a whatever hero. You don't really care about him. But if he has a really good early game, he gets maybe 2 or 3 kills, he never dies, he's getting all the meat stacks in like 2 lanes, and by level 7 or 8, he's done with his quest. He's like a force to be reckoned with, right? It's really, really hard to not die to Butcher if he finishes his quest super early and has a great early game. Nazebo slowly has a power creep where he continues to get really strong, and then once he hits level 20, and you get, I think it's Vile Voodoo or whatever that quest one is to get to 175. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but if you get the 175 minion kills, and then you get that huge bonus, Nazebo becomes a beast. Like, his power creep is scary, you know? You get to level 20 and you have a really good Nazebo, now you're looking at a lot of damage your team's going to be taking. So that's kind of where I put Alarak in, where he's pretty good he's like a mid-tier hero through most of the game, but he's got this insane potential to power creep and then have a power spike at one point, and it's all based on him not dying. So that's where I feel like the balance is for the hero. If somebody's really good at Alarak, they're going to definitely be rewarded for that, which I think is important. Same for like Butcher and Nazebo and heroes of that nature. But even if you are really good, if you do make any small mistake and you die, you lose all of that sadism that you built up for, and then Alarak just becomes kind of an okay hero. So I really feel like he's in a good place, and based on my testing, based on other Alaraks I've seen, I think he is in a really good place. He might still get nerfed or buffed or readjusted, but currently I feel like there's no reason to really change him, but we'll just have to see what Blizzard decides. Like I said, though, I feel like he's pretty solid where he's at. Definitely has that potential, but if the enemy team is smart enough to focus Alarak and kill him, he becomes quite useless quite fast. Very susceptible to CC, which is another reason that you grab Counter-Strike. So, now we're going to go into the level 13 talent I like to pick. Like I said, I know the keyboard overlay goes over the text, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick it and then bring it up over here for you guys. So, Alarak Shear, it's a 300-second cooldown, 1 key activatable, or you can move it wherever you want if 3 is your better number, or 5, and you just do that by left-clicking and dragging. I leave it on 1 personally because that's where I like it. So, Alarak Shear, cooldown 300 seconds, activate to mark an enemy hero for 300 seconds. Hitting the marked hero with Discord Strike, that's your Q, increases sadism by 3%. Killing the marked hero increases sadism by 6% and lowers the cooldown of Alarak Shear to 10 seconds. Sadism gained from Alarak Shear is lost on death. Now that's a big one. If you die, all this hard work you did of killing heroes is totally void. So that's another reason, like I just said, why I feel that Alarak is quite okay at where he's at. You know, I think he's in a good place because of stuff like this. Because Alarak Sheer is basically where his power creep begins. You can get 30% sadism on your takedowns, and that's cool and all, but Alarak Sheer is where his power creep is, and if he dies at all, he loses it. So it's definitely a gamble play, but I do feel like it is the best talent to get at 13. So with Alarak Sheer, you're going to want to drop it on targets early, or like if you drop it on target early, knowing that you're going to be in a poke game maybe. So like say there's usually I drop it on a tank hero specifically if I know I'm going to be poking. So if Arthas is here, I would drop Alarak Sheer on Arthas, and I would like do my combo, right, where I'd pull in and then Q to do the combo, and then I get my 3% because I hit him with Discord Strike, and then he might walk away or whatever. If he does get away, it's not a big deal because Alarak Sheer is still marked on him, and then I can continue to get an increased boost from hitting them with my Discord Strike until I kill them. The other use of Alarak Sheer is when you know you're about to kill a squishy hero, or you're about to combo on a squishy hero and you think you're going to kill them, you Alarak Sheer, and then you do your combo, your team kills them, this goes on a 10-second cooldown, you just got 9 extra sadism. So that's the thought process behind Alarak Sheer, kind of when to use it. There's really only 2 uses that I've run into so far that's viable to use, but that is your main power creep, and also it's very important for you to stay alive, obviously. You don't want to lose any sadism. If you do lose it, Alarak's still good, but I found that towards the later stages of the game, like once you're hitting 16, if you do die on Alarak, he really relies on his teammates to help him come back into the fight and be able to build up that power surge again, or the power creep, and getting to that power spike level. Now at 16, we're talking about real power spikes, okay? So once again, we're going to go over talents first that don't matter, that you shouldn't grab on average. And Lightning Barrage is that talent that you probably shouldn't grab. So in theory, it's very, very good. Lightning Barrage is hitting an enemy hero with the center of Lightning Surge, allows it to be cast again for free on a different primary target within 2 seconds. So that means if I Lightning Chaos here, and this is the enemy, the little heal guy, say he's the enemy. If I Lightning Chaos, and now it hits this little guy, I can't Lightning Chaos again. I have to have something else to hit the little guy again. I can't re-click on Chaos for a double Lightning Surge. And that's kind of where the talent goes from good to inconsistent. Not every single time do you have targets where you can continuously select and choose. So it's good, it's just a little inconsistent. Now, this is going to kind of backtrack a little bit as I talk about Lethal Onslaught. So first I'll explain Lethal Onslaught, then I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. So with Lethal Onslaught, hitting an enemy hero with Discord Strike grants 50% of sadism damage bonus to Alarak's basic attacks for 4 seconds. Basic attacks against heroes refresh the duration. So you pretty much will do your combo, and then you'll auto attack once. And you're almost guaranteed that auto attack by default anyway, just kind of the way heroes mechanics work. So Lethal Onslaught will usually 100% trigger. You can always just click on somebody if you really need to. But Lethal Onslaught is my grab if I'm dying a lot, if I'm having a lot of problems, and all I'm trying to do is just get a little bit of extra damage because I know I'm going to end up getting killed. So with Blades of the High Lord, or Blade of the High Lord, you get that sadism bonus, and that sadism bonus will also go into your Lethal Onslaught sadism bonus for basic attacks. So it's kind of like if you end up going, you know, this build, and then you're just dying a ton, you're like, dude, I'm not even going to survive for Alarak Sheer to even be useful, and you go Blade of the High Lord, I recommend going Lethal Onslaught because at least that gives you some damage output, even if you're going to be getting picked off a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. It's kind of like my I'm behind, or I'm losing, or I'm just not comfortable in Alarak, or I'm dying a lot. I'm trying to get better with them, but I'm just not entirely sure yet what to do. Blade of the High Lord, Lethal Onslaught, it's your safety 13-14, or 13-16, excuse me, and you'll be good there. Now, if we're back on the build that I think you should be going if you are playing Alarak quite well, Mocking Strikes is insane. It's battle momentum for Alarak. If you don't know what battle momentum is, it is what I'm about to read to you guys. Battle momentum was a talent given to a lot of different heroes a long time ago, and Blizzard has since moved it to specific heroes and taken it away from other ones. So Mocking Strikes is basic attacks against stunned, silenced, slowed, or rooted heroes. Reduces the cooldown of Alarak's basic abilities by 2.5 seconds, which is a lot. Also, considering how your cooldowns are pretty low, 8, 6, 12. 12 is kind of high. 12 is kind of high, but you got your 8 and your 6 there. Like, 2 basic attacks resets Lightning Surge, essentially, because the time in between your auto attacks is going to be 1 second. So Lightning Surge will always be up, essentially, with Mocking Strikes. Now, I'm going to grab Mocking Strikes because that's what I believe is the proper level 16 talent to grab. But this is the talent I've been talking about that combos into everything else. So, at level 7, we got Telekinesis Slows, alright? That adds a slow to your W, which Mocking Strikes can capitalize on. Slow target. So if you didn't grab Hindered Motion, then all you have is your silence and potentially your slow from your Lightning Surge if you've completed that quest to be able to trigger Mocking Strikes. By grabbing Hindered Motion, not only do you provide a slow for your team and for yourself, but you give yourself a third combo piece to continuously have Mocking Strikes up. And I'll kind of show some stuff off of Arthas, different combinations you can do to make Mocking Strikes be proccing constantly. That's why we grab Hindered Motion, or that's why I personally grab Hindered Motion at 7. Because it combos so well in the Mocking Strikes, gives you that extra potential to continuously reset your abilities and just have a ridiculous output of damage. And at level 20, I never grab Hasty Bargain because, like I've said before, I don't like reducing sadism on Alarak, and I feel like it's very useless to have a instant reset on Hasty Bargain. When you have Mocking Strikes, you can just auto attack twice and it does Hasty Bargain's job and you don't lose sadism. They changed Last Laugh, so activate to choose to a chosen location and remove all slows, roots, slows, and damage over time effects if Alarak fails to hit 3 basic abilities on heroes. I know I flipped that. Within 4 seconds of using Last Laugh, his health is reduced to 1. So if you really feel like you need a blink on Alarak for some reason, then Last Laugh is good, as long as you nail those abilities. You know, it's an option, I guess. I don't go it ever, but if you really want to do it, you can definitely do it. I always think that grabbing the ulti that you didn't choose is the best. So typically Deadly Charge at 20. If you did go Deadly Charge at 10, then Counter Strike at 20. I just believe that Deadly Charge is better later in the game. I think it has a bigger power spike, so that's what I ended up grabbing at 20. And then that's the entirety of Alarak's talent tree. So once again, we're just going to go over real quick. Extended Lightning. Got to get the 3 heroes hit quest to get everything done. Chaos Reigns at 4 because mathematically it's just better than negatively charged. Well, mathematically speaking, for practicality reasons. Mathematically speaking, negatively charged is technically better, but you need 161 center lightning hits in order to match the damage of Chaos Rain, so it's kind of not worth it to grab negatively charged. So Chaos Rain's at 4. We take Hindered Motion to combo into Mocking Strikes at 16. So if you really need the extra silence, you can go this. Level 10, your 9 out of 10 ulti choice should be Counter Strike just because of the safety it provides for you. If you're really feeling aggressive and you don't feel like you need the safety, then Deadly Charge you can go, but I always go Counter Strike. Level 13, if you're having a hard game, Blade of the High Lord, definitely worth it. If it's not going well for you, Alarak Shear if everything is great and life is beautiful. Level 16, Lethal Onslaught to combo into Blade of the High Lord, so if you're having a bad game, Lethal Onslaught is definitely good. If you're just not quite comfortable in keeping Alarak alive, that's also a good talent. Mocking Strikes if life is good once again and you want to just obliterate your enemy heroes, then that's what you go. Level 20, other ulti choice, whatever one that you didn't grab. I typically have Deadly Charge at 20, but you know, you could choose it. It's whatever you want. So like I said, this build is just based on testing and math that I've done. This works best for me. It might not work best for you. Keep that in mind when going through this build and seeing what exactly you want to be going on Alarak. He's definitely very strong now. He's definitely got a very high skill ceiling and has a lot of potential, but you need to be playing him right in order to capitalize on that potential that you'll be given on the hero. Alright, so next we're going to be going over just some different combinations you can do on Arthas, the glorious bot that gets obliterated in everything, heroes. All I did, by the way, to get to the 99 sadism was I put more Right of Rakshir onto the training dummy. Hit him 3 times with Discord Strike, and that's about as close to 100% as I can get. So that's just a good place to start. I think 100 is a good baseline for Alarak, so you can check it out. So I'm going to toggle minions just to get Alarak to come, or Alarak, just to get Arthas to come out here. And once he's out here, I'm going to toggle off the minions, and I'm going to kind of show you some stuff you can do. So first you want to make sure Right of Rakshir is on the hero, and then you're going to want to pull him into you and just start wailing as much as you can on the target. To get those big hits in, you can see that because of the slows, I'm able to constantly reset these abilities. Going over here, I can show that again. I'm just going to toggle real quick. So dropping Right of Rakshir onto a target. So first the slow, and then I'm just going to auto attack, and you will see that the cooldown of telekinesis will drop. You can see it drops pretty significantly. 2 hits and it's already at 5%. So just keep an eye on my cooldowns. I'm just going to be showing kind of how Mocking Strikes works. I'm going to need to use these guys a little bit. So just keep an eye on the cooldowns. I'm going to be trying to spam the abilities as much as I can, and so you can kind of get a good look at how this works. So you can kind of see, I missed some lightning hits on these minions over here, but you could see the cooldowns reducing and how often they can actually pop off, and that's just something that makes Mocking Strike so good, is your uptime on your abilities is just really strong. So I'm going to bring back in Arthas. I'm just going to show you some basic combinations. I'm also going to toggle cooldowns on so you can see how that works. I'm going to take off minions so Arthas chills here. So your basic combination against enemy heroes versus maybe there's multiple here, but we only have Arthas. I can also spawn in Lost Vikings to show, but you guys can get the picture with just a single target. You might pull him in and hit him with your Q. So pull in with telekinesis, and then I use my Q right afterwards. That's your basic combo. You can almost always guarantee a hit off that. And if Arthas maybe was chasing me, like let's see if I can get him to run after me, you might want to push him back. And that's just what you do with telekinesis, or you might just want to run away using your self-cast for telekinesis, which is Alt W. So you're going to want to mark him with Wrath. This is just the basics. Hit him with an ability, and then just try to keep your cooldowns going. So I'm going to be showing you guys what I was talking about earlier by making Deadly Charge just a mini charge super nuke. I'm going to turn off minions. Get over here. So in between auto attacks, I could pop Deadly Charge and blast through him just like that. So that shows you kind of mini Deadly Charge. You can also just use it to charge into somebody, and you can cancel it at any time. You also look very, very cool while you're charging it up, so you can just do it to look cool as well. The Counter Strike, what makes it really easy to charge is you can proc it off of an auto attack. So if I just time it and pop my Counter Strike, every time Arthas goes to hit me, I can just continuously, I mean, the cooldowns are on toggle right now, so you're not going to be able to do this consistently, obviously, but this is just a good example of how easy it is to proc. So guys, that's going to do it for this in-depth look at Alarak, the brand new one that just came out on patch 25.4, the D.Va patch. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave me a comment with some feedback or whatever. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can hit me up on Twitter at Skizzors. That's Skizzors. It'll be written on the screen. Or you can hit me up on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Skizzors, Skizzors as well. I don't really have a consistent streaming schedule, but I do stream here and there quite often, so you guys are more than welcome to hop in and hang out or whatever. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope the guide was helpful, and let me know also if there's any heroes specifically that you would like to see. I have a D.Va in-depth guide coming out. It probably won't be as long as Alarak because she's not as complex, but I do have a D.Va guide on the way. Hopefully it will be coming out very soon. Anyway guys, thank you once again for tuning in. This has been Skizzors, and we'll see you next time.